Welcome to the Project with Sam and Lewis, the podcast that looks at projects throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Stranger Things 4 episode, The Nina Project.
We certainly are. Brand new Stranger Things.
We're very good at keeping up with the times recently.
We really are. Though this one wasn't exactly planned ahead.
It really wasn't. No, I was slightly ahead of you, wasn't I, in season 4?
Yeah, well, I started watching season 1 a week ago.
Yeah, right, okay. You'd seen it before
I'd seen season 1 when it first came out, but I'd never seen season 2 and beyond.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, there's a project episode.
Coincidentally, I've just started watching through it. And it's great because the last 2 episodes have just come out.
Literally 2 days ago as we speak. It'll be a couple of days more once the episode comes out.
So everyone's talking about Stranger Things, so as are we.
It's worked out very well, hasn't it? If you want to skip ahead, you've got time codes in the episode description, so you can skip straight to that or skip to personal projects. But before that, how are you today, Lewis?
Been better.
Yeah.
I've got a bad shoulder. I've torn a muscle in my shoulder and haven't had a good night's sleep in about 3 weeks because I get woken up by the pain in the middle of the night.
Perfect. That sounds like the angsty kind of thing that we've got in this episode, isn't it?
Yeah, it's starting to become a bit of a birthday tradition to be in a lot of pain for me, which isn't a tradition that I like to keep up.
So as your body realises it's getting older, just seizes up in fear and anxiety.
It's not fun, but I've got a physiotherapy appointment tomorrow.
Perfect.
Hopefully can improve, and hopefully I'll be able to sleep.
Have one good night's sleep.
Yeah. So excuse me if I sound a little bit delirious during this episode.
That's all right. I mean, I've got the coffee going as well, so we'll be on very strange levels.
Maybe next episode I'll be on a load of painkillers that will make me even more delirious.
It's all right. We'll just get we'll just experiment each episode. Different combinations.
That could be the special thing for episode 50.
That could be the special thing for episode 50, yeah.
But how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, yeah. As I mentioned last episode, went to Glastonbury Festival.
Yeah.
Had a great time. Won't go into too much detail, but yeah, saw a lot of the bands I wanted to see. Had some good late nights. Didn't feel too awful when I got back, which is a first for me.
Yeah. It's always a bit of a rough Monday, that, isn't it?
Yeah. The Monday, we got back here about 6 p.m, so not terrible. And then had Tuesday, Wednesday off, so can't complain there, really. Yeah, just settling back into normality. 2 days working from home, as I mentioned a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Got a good Monday, Tuesday to look forward to.
Yeah, I had Monday, Tuesday off this week.
Nice.
And it was nice to just do a 3-day week.
Oh, yeah, because you had your birthday, didn't you?
I did on Monday, so...
Yeah,
and then I went for a swim in the sea for the first time this year on Tuesday.
That's probably good for the shoulder.
I think the coldness was good, but the movement not so good.
No, but it's like a low impact.
Yeah, but when you kind
whatever,
of,
isn't
it was a bit choppy. When you're in the waves, it's really hard to not move your arm about.
Yeah, you've got to kind of. I suppose a still like pool is probably better. Isn't
it was a bit sore the rest of the day, but
yeah, well, you'll find out from the physio what is good and bad to do, I suppose.
Swimming good. I hope.
Throwing bad.
Throwing bad. Wrestling. Arm wrestling bad.
Very good. Oh, what? Who's this physio you've got here? It's old Stinky Dave from down the road.
Old Stinky Dave.
I don't think that's
No, it's body odor Dave.
Horrible body odor Dave. Horrible body odor Max.
Oh, yeah, Max.
HBO Max. There we go.
Yeah, that is it.
So, first segment.
Project news.
It was the loudest one yet.
It wasn't a particularly loud one. I must have my phone turned up today. Just the one this week. It's been a bit of a slow news week.
Yeah.
Everyone's just talking about Stranger Things, or the Lazarus Project is the project news.
Yeah, which we will be covering shortly, won't we?
Yeah, so this is one I'm not sure. I think we might have spoken about this, but not this specifically.
Okay.
So is Project 007 coming to PC? Is this article from Early Game. So did we know that this was the name of the game?
So we talked about it a while ago, and at that point it was a working title. Does it seem like that's the actual?
Yeah, so
Yes.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
great. Right? So as we kind of mentioned before, the people who make the Hitman games are making a
Yeah,
James
yeah.
Bond game, which seems
It
perfect.
makes
Seems like the right
complete
people to do
sense.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're calling it Project 007.
Mm.
Most of this article is talking about how they're not sure whether it's going to be on PC. There's not too much details, but yeah, I didn't realize that was what it was called.
Yeah, because
Which
it feels very much like a working title. I mean, it may still be a working title, but it depends on how late they change the name. We might still be able to cover it in some
when I
way.
Google Project 007, it does come up with this game, and there's a
Yeah.
website 007.ioi.dk,
Yes. Yeah.
which does say it's a working title.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, Project 007 is a good name, I think. Because
yeah,
did I think last time we figured out that it was they hadn't really released much information, but it might be like a new James Bond, is it? Like, so I don't know
yeah,
if it will
quite.
be one of the faces that we recognize. It will be its own thing.
Yeah, there might be like a DLC where you play through missions as Daniel
Yeah,
Craig
yeah,
and
that would
Pierce
be cool.
Brosnan
Yeah.
and stuff. But yeah, I think that estimated the release to be late 2023/2024.
Okay, so
So
it's a
we've
while
got
off.
a year to prepare our coverage of that for the pod.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it would probably be a next gen release, I imagine. So
Yeah.
hopefully by that point, one of the two of us. I mean, I would like to think by 2024, I've scrounged enough money together to get a PS5, but
It's no guarantee.
we keep having stag do's and weddings to go to. Then I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to happen.
It took me like 8 years to get a PS4.
Yeah, I mean, I
so-
got mine the summer before the PS5 came out. Maybe the year before. I think maybe year before that. You were right before, weren't you?
When?
You before your PS5 came out, you were
Yes.
pretty much the same time.
Yeah.
Weren't you?
But yeah, hopefully it is called Project 007 because
Yeah.
that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, slow news week.
Yeah.
But we've got a project to look
I
forward
think
to
if
in
they
the
keep
future.
calling it that for a while, I think we can just call it the normal the title and then in brackets Project 007
Yeah.
and just cover it anyway.
And hopefully by 2023 or 2024, we can get sent a free version to
Yeah,
review.
yeah. I was looking into that. We talked about premieres and stuff before, but
Yeah.
I think premieres is maybe a bit of a reach, but preview screenings happen everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that we want to get onto. So if anyone's listening and you've got any ins with media companies, with production companies, whatever, please do send us a little, even a little hint about how to go about it. Because when you look it up, a lot of people are asking the same questions. And I think it's probably just a case of just spamming people with professional sounding emails.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to do that, but it would be nice to have a little in somewhere. So
yeah, it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is Project News, which means we can go on to our hefty main a feature-length, film-length
Pretty
episode.
much. Well, it's nothing on the last episode that we haven't watched, isn't it? The new 2.5 hour
yes,
finale. But
which I have not got.
So as of recording now, you are up to this episode, Stranger Things 4, episode 5.
Yeah.
I am the penultimate episode of 4, so I'm a couple episodes ahead. But I've rewatched this episode this morning, so I will keep it to this kind of chronologically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll do some predictions.
Yes, that would be great. Yeah, and I'll try and keep my poker face on. I can't 100% remember where we were at going up to this because it wasn't a recap.
Right,
to this
so
episode.
I did just watch the episode before. So the
That's
episode. Oh, we'll get into it when we start the episode.
Yeah.
So the Google description says, in 1980s Indiana, this is the whole series.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
A group of friends witness supernatural forces and secret government exploits. As they search for answers, the children unravel a series of extraordinary mysteries.
Yes, that is the broad thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most people, I imagine, who are listening to this will have an idea of what Stranger Things is
Yeah,
about.
it's a bit of a weird one getting all this information together because it's like most people know what Stranger Things is, even if they haven't watched it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably Netflix's biggest hit, really. I feel like continuous own IP kind of thing. Because it was one of the early like, wow, Netflix make good
good
programs.
TV, yeah.
Then over the years, Netflix's quality kind of varied quite a
It's a
lot.
bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, it is. But I think Stranger Things, although, you know, people have complaints about certain bits of writing and stuff going along, I think the quality of the filmmaking, acting generally,
Yeah.
special effects is pretty consistent throughout.
Yeah, I watched season 1 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Never carried on it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
rewatched it. I think season 2's a bit weak.
I think so. I think that's what put me off watching 3 when it came out.
Yeah.
So I was kind of a bit like,
But I
yeah.
thought season 3 was good, and season 4
Yeah.
has been good up to this
I
point
think
as well.
2 felt very similar to 1 in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Whereas 3, they kind of go into different tropes, and they mention The Thing, John Carpenter, The Thing. I feel like a lot of the kind of gross monster stuff is very, because a lot of it's that nostalgia thing. It's referencing stuff very directly and indirectly.
Yeah.
And all the stuff with, you know, the Russians and the new characters they bring in, what's she called? Max, and in 3,
Billy?
No.
Robin.
Robin, yeah. They brought in some
I
new
like
characters.
Robin. I like Max and Robin, actually. They're two of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
in this.
I wasn't a massive fan of Max in 2, but I think in 3, when she's friends with Elle, and they're like,
yeah,
you know, there's some good stuff there, and they balance them out a bit, and Billy as well in 3, especially when you kind of see him as like the bad guy, but then he also is still in there and stuff. There's some,
and ends up saving the day, really.
Yeah, in a kind of, well, a very traumatic way. It kind of leads the way into 4 in a lot of ways.
So yeah, the episode before this was a really good episode. I felt.
Damn.
Where Max has been taken by Vecna,
right? Is it that one?
And at the end is the whole Kate Bush
thing, which we all heard about before we saw the episode, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, that song comes up in like episode 1, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised that it's been such a big deal.
That's what Amy said as well when we watched it.
But then get to the episode, and it's like, oh yeah, and then Max is constantly listening to it.
It's a cool bit, and I think they do the little flashes back of her good moments with her friends and stuff.
Yeah,
I think it's quite emotionally effective.
Powerful, yeah. And yeah, I did feel myself getting quite emotional
at
that.
Too,
I'm like, oh my god, run, Max, run! So yeah, before we get into this episode, we'll jump back into what happened in the season so far to make what we're saying make sense.
Yes, yeah, in case anyone doesn't know.
But created by the Duffer Brothers, it's kind of their main thing they've done.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll go on to do many other things after this.
And lots of the lore kind of stuff is. So, well, some of it is inspired by the Montauk Project, which we've done an episode on as well.
They mentioned MK Ultra in the early seasons.
They have as well, so it's kind of a combination. It's almost like everything's been leading up to this, isn't it? Funny how things work out like that, isn't it?
Yeah, this episode in particular was directed by Nimrod Antal.
I saw that. Yeah. Funny name, isn't it?
Yeah, although it's like a biblical name that Bugs Bunny ruined.
We've talked about that before. I don't think on pod, but it was like maybe Viking.
I think Nimrod was like a great warrior leader.
Yeah, and
Bugs Bunny calls Elmer Fudd taking the piss.
Yeah, it's but like you're all Nimrods.
People didn't get it. They thought it was just an insult, so it just became that.
That's it. Yeah. But yeah, that's a funny. I think we spoke about it because there's a term for it where it's like a real redefinition of a term.
Yeah,
and there's only a couple of kind of very kind of mainstream examples, and that's one of the interesting ones there. But
yeah, and he's Hungarian American, so it's probably still just a name in Hungary. And it's not had the Bugs Bunny.
Is his surname like, what was his surname?
Antal,
right.
So yeah, I had a look at, he didn't really have anything too much that stood out to me, although he did direct the Metallica Through the Never film.
Right, okay.
I doubt you've ever seen that.
No.
It's kind of a weird, it's like a film about like a fan going through some rough things to get to a Metallica show, kind of cut with a live Metallica show. So it's kind of half live, half like film about a Metallica.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a full feature length?
Yeah.
Film? Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But he directed that, and I think that was quite well received.
Yeah.
yeah, I've also got a list here of the cast.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
So I'm gonna fly through them because it's
Yeah.
quite a large cast at this point.
Yeah.
And just name a couple of things that some of the
Go for
other
it, yeah.
actors were. So the most famous person I remember when I first watched in
Mm.
season 1 6 years ago
Yeah.
was Winona Ryder
Yeah.
being in it because she's a super
She
famous
is the
person.
most going into it, most famous person
Yeah,
in this. 100%,
who people know from Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Dracula, Little Women,
Mm-hmm.
Alien Resurrection,
Yes, yeah.
Star Trek as well. She plays Spock's dad in the 2009 one.
Spock's dad.
Spock's mom, even. But yeah,
I was like, fair, okay, Star Trek, Yeah, I do remember that. Actually, yeah.
Since then, David Harbour's become a big name.
Yeah, he's second build now, I think.
Yeah, as Jim Hopper.
The thing is, he hasn't done that. I mean, you're about to say, but he hasn't done that much stuff.
No, he had small roles in Brokeback Mountain, War of the Worlds, Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, he was in Suicide Squad, yeah.
And then Hellboy. He was
Hellboy.
Hellboy. That was kind of his breakout into Hollywood.
Yeah, it didn't go super well. I mean, I watched it on Netflix.
It's not bad, but it's not.
I liked
great.
it. Didn't have the Guillermo del Toro like weirdness to it, but it had weirdness in its own way, and it was quite comic booky. I enjoyed that.
He was also in Extraction with Chris Hemsworth.
I haven't seen that one. No.
That was very good. Actually,
I heard good
thoroughly
stuff.
enjoyed that.
Wasn't that the Russo brothers, or is that
quite
not?
possibly?
Maybe they wrote it or something. But there's an Extraction 2 confirmed apparently.
Oh, so, nice. Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. And Black Widow, famously, he's in the Marvel universe now.
Red Guardian.
Yeah, which is quite ironic considering the character where he's at in season 4.
That's true, yeah.
I was like, oh,
and he would have been filming them both fairly back to back.
Just constantly dealing with the Soviets for like a year of his life. Then probably the next most famous is Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, now anyway.
Who this was her breakout role as 11. Since gone on to star in 2 Godzilla films and Enola Holmes, which has a sequel coming out soon.
Does, yeah.
And I'm sure she'll go on to do many other.
Well,
we
talked about Project News. She is in the contractual negotiations for a Star Wars series potentially, which I was theorizing might be the Skeleton Crew one with John Watts, Spider-Man Homecoming director. Jude Law confirmed. But a lot of people have said like, oh, that's gonna be a Stranger Things style one. It's like I feel like they wouldn't put her in the Stranger Things style one because it's a bit obvious.
Too obvious. But, the other kids are Finn Wolfhard, who's Mike, who's in the 2 It films.
Yes, which is very similar vibes, isn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the second one, but the first one was very Stranger Things.
Yeah, I haven't seen either, but I always kind of got that feeling.
He's also in a band, I think, isn't he? He's got, like an indie band.
Yes, I think I did see that.
I also think, anyway, we'll get to them.
But he voiced Pugsley in 2019 Addams Family film with Oscar Isaac. And he's in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh yeah, another Stranger Things style.
He just loves doing 80s stuff.
His band was called Calpurnia. It looks like they broke up in 2019.
Right. Do you reckon they saw him in the Ghostbusters Halloween costume in season 2?
Oh my god, yeah.
Let's get him for Ghostbusters.
I never thought about that. I'm sure I'm the only person on the internet who hasn't thought of that before.
Gaten Matarazzo plays Dustin. He hasn't really done anything else yet.
No.
I think he's kind of been focusing on this. Caleb McLaughlin plays Lucas.
Yep.
Whose only other known credit is he's in The Boys animated spin-off on Prime.
Really? Okay, yeah.
We've got Noah Schnapp, who plays Will. Yeah. Who did have acting experience before. He's Tom Hanks's son in Bridge of Spies.
Right, okay.
Small role, but he worked with Tom Hanks, so
yeah. I haven't seen Bridge of Spies. I think you said it was quite good, didn't you?
No, I did thoroughly enjoy it when it came out. I've seen it a few times. Sadie Sink is Max, who I think has been cast in something.
I think she was in a Taylor Swift.
She was in a
video,
Taylor Swift thing,
which was when she re-released 1989.
Yeah, she did like a 10-15 minute video of a song, and Natalia Dyer plays Nancy.
Yeah.
She was in After Darkness. Did you ever see that?
Don't recognize it too much.
No. And I didn't realize she's dating Charlie Heaton, who
Yeah,
plays
yeah,
Jonathan
yeah.
in real life.
He's British.
He's British.
And he was in New Mutants.
He was as Cannonball,
Yeah.
which
you
I
ever
still
watch
haven't
New
seen. No,
I watched it.
oh, you're oh my god, exclusive! The one person in the world to watch New Mutants.
It was all right, to be honest. Like, I could see they were trying to do something, and it was clear
Has
that
it got Maisie
Williams? Yeah, she's fine.
How's Jonathan Heaton? Charlie Heaton.
He plays exactly the same character.
Oh,
as
really?
in Stranger Things, pretty much. Yeah, he's just like angsty and yeah.
That's funny.
But, yeah, it was all right. Yeah, it's very short, but I think it was one of those ones that was it was re-edited over about 4 years.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? So yeah.
We've got Joe Kurt as Steve.
Is it Kiri?
Joe Kurt. Keert.
I think it's Y. Yeah.
Oh, Kiri. Did I?
Yeah, I think you might have changed it.
No.
I'm pretty
Kiri
sure
makes
it's Kiri.
more sense.
I think it's Kiri. Yeah.
It is Kiri. You're right.
Yeah.
Steve's one of my favorite characters in there.
Yeah,
so
he's been in a fair few things as well.
Most notably, he was in Free Guy.
Free Guy, yeah. Did you watch Free Guy in the end?
No,
I'd recommend it. Yeah, good stuff. He's also used to be in Post Animal, the band, and he has his own music under DJO.
Yeah,
which is some good stuff. I like his.
I heard
it.
I read that it was like Tame Impala-esque.
Yeah,
stuff.
It's kind of that, a bit funkier, a bit more like electronic, but yeah, it feels like that kind of vibe.
Nice. We got Maya Hawke as Robin, who is the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke. Yeah. I had no idea about that.
No idea that. Yeah, I mean, you can see the Uma Thurman immediately when you notice it,
and a bit of Ethan Hawke as well. Like, I can see it now. I'm like, oh yeah, of course.
But she hasn't been in much else, has she?
No, she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in kind of a smallish role.
She's one of the Manson family, I think. Yeah.
On the ranch farm thing.
Yeah, I think she may even be one of the ones in the car that go to.
Oh yeah,
I think she might be the one who leaves and doesn't go in the house or something like that. Because there's a whole scene where they're all discussing it in the car before they go up the hill. I think she might be one of them as well. Yeah.
I like her character. I think she's good fun.
Yeah, they do some good stuff with the fact that you feel like she's into Steve, and then it turns out that she was in love with a girl that sat next to Steve, kind of thing. And
yeah, that whole scene was quite good. I was like, oh,
and it's well handled, and like
Steve is like a really good friend.
Yeah, and it turns like when you think about it, he's only really like known her for he feels like he's like in love with her, and it's like, oh no, actually he just likes hanging out with her.
Yeah,
he kind of gets over it very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like, they handled it well. They could have made it like this dramatic point of like, oh, I don't want to spend time with you because I'm in love with you. And it's like, no, it's nice. They don't have to go out with each other. Yeah.
And the last couple, we've got Brett Gelman as Murray.
Oh yeah.
Who was in The Disaster Artist.
Right.
He was in Metal Lords. Did you see that Netflix film?
Oh no, I didn't see it. No.
It's like a
School of Rock kind of thing.
Yeah. It was pretty good. And he was in Fleabag.
I was gonna say, he's a real dirtbag in that,
Fleabag, perhaps?
Well, I think the Fleabag is supposed to be Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but we never get her name in it, so yeah.
Right. And finally, Jamie Campbell-Bower plays Vecna.
Yes.
Obviously not recognisable, but I did recognise him. I looked at his things and I'm like, he played a guy that like teenage girls fancy.
Yes, yeah, I've seen a bit of stuff about
he's Grindelwald in the Harry Potter films.
That's who he is. Yeah, because actually we spoke about him because I read his name out on pod. Yeah.
He's in Twilight.
Oh yeah, he's like one of the weird like council people or something.
And he plays King Arthur in Camelot. So a bunch of
I don't know which one's Camelot.
Because
I immediately thought of Merlin, but he's
I think I get it mixed. He's not King Arthur in that. I get it mixed up with Merlin because it's.
I think it was another series that was about King Arthur. Wasn't it?
Yeah, and he plays King Arthur in that.
I think it was a slightly more gritty version of it. Kind of thing.
It's quite funny seeing him. He's like this teenage heartthrob going to be this like terrifying monster.
Yeah.
And once I looked it up, and then when I watched the episode, I was like, oh, Joe, I do kind of see it under the makeup now. He's kind of less imposing now that I know it's Jamie Campbell Bower.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you wanna have a guess on the IMDb's? I've got the episode and
I have
Stranger Things as a whole.
I mean, Stranger Things as a whole, I imagine, is in the low 9s, I'm going to say.
As a whole, it's 8.7.
I was going to say high 8s. You heard me
very
almost.
good for TV series.
I reckon this episode, there's some good stuff in it. I think maybe mid 8s.
Yeah, it's 8.2.
Yeah, fair.
The episode before was 9.5.
Cool. Well, as always, we're just a little bit away from greatness.
What
there,
was
aren't we?
I swear we did something else where as every TV show we do, it seems to be one of the more average episodes.
Yeah, if it's a project in the title episode, it's always the worst one.
But was this the worst one?
We'll have to find out.
Yeah. So like in the season so far, everyone's kind of off doing their own thing. It seems to happen a lot in Stranger Things that they end up in their own little teams.
I think at this point it's like 4 different plots going on.
Yeah, so we've got Hopper in a Soviet like gulag.
Yeah.
We've got Dustin, Steve, and Robin
and Max and Lucas at this point.
Yeah, who are investigating. No, they're trying to help Eddie because he's been accused of murder.
And at the same time, kind of looking into the Vecna stuff. What the little they know about it. Kind of thing.
Joyce and Murray were going to try and get Hopper.
Yeah, I say that's part of the same thing in a way.
Yeah. Did you recognise the guard who tried to break Hopper out?
Yes, Game of Thrones.
Jack and Hagar.
I said that. I said that to Amy when I was watching it. I was like, look him up, and yeah. Jack and
then we've also got Will, Mike, Jonathan,
and Argyle, the stoner
and
guy.
Argyle. Yeah,
they're
basically trying to find 11.
There was a shootout right before this, wasn't there, at the house?
Yeah,
which is quite a cool scene. That was really cool, wasn't it?
It's like the one shot.
They think the pizzas arrive because they're trying to get the pizza guy to come help them, Argyle. Yeah, and then like SWAT guys just shooting up.
Yeah,
and the 2 agents are like heroes. They're like fucking killing everyone.
You think they're just there like being kind of dicks,
because they're just watching like TV.
They're there to like save them essentially. Yeah, and they go off in the car, and Eleven's
off.
She volunteered to try and get a power spark. It turned out Papa.
But with that guy, Dr. Owens, Sam Owens, who I feel like he's in every season, but normally just like at the end, he just shows up and goes like, I'll fix this or something. Do you know what I mean? Like when he showed up in this, because the episode before we see him at his house and the helicopter turns up and the evil General Sullivan is like, what happened with 11? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then he does know because but do you know what I mean? I feel like
there is, I don't get me wrong, I've thoroughly enjoyed Stranger Things so far.
Yeah.
There is certain plot points that they repeat every season. Like season 1 and season 2 are both 11's using her magic to destroy the villain and close the gate.
Magic.
Well,
yeah. 1 and 2 are very
And I feel like the progression of the main villains is fairly predictable, from like monster and then lots of monsters and then big monster, and now we've got human monster.
Yeah, I remember in the lead up to this, they were like, we wanted a more kind of human face to it.
It's a very predictable development.
I'm interested about where they go.
I imagine it'll be a more evil human monster is my prediction.
Well,
for season 5.
I think because they didn't really end the Mind Flayer, the original bad guy, the kind of force that comes in as the kind of spider kind of thing, because they didn't fix that completely. I think it'll be kind of coming back to the source, maybe, but maybe if they don't defeat Vecna, maybe Vecna plus that together.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I said to Christina about the progression of villains. She was like, what they'll do for season 5 is it's like they'll have one of them as the villain. And I was like, no, they already did that in season 2 when Will was like the villain.
That's true. Yeah. And even with Billy, I suppose, being the like avatar in 3,
it's like they've actually already done that. But so this episode starts with Jonathan Argyle Will and Mike piling into the pizza van with the police guy, getting away from this shootout. It's like a
Yeah.
dramatic opening.
They're like start driving through the desert, and he's like bleeding out, isn't
He's
he?
bleeding out. They're like trying to bleed out, and the policeman says to them, "You need to find Nina."
Yes. And he gives them like a pen.
Yeah, because he's like, "You need to call Nina on the number."
Yeah.
And gives them a pen.
Yeah, and they've got like a magazine, and they're like, write it down.
But the pen doesn't work, and they can't.
Well, I don't think they even realize that at that point. He just dies before they get a chance to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and he dies, and then there's like a car following them, so they like drive off the road and go off into the desert.
And I think he says like Warren Owens, like the girl is in trouble, that's the girl's in danger or whatever.
Yeah.
And and then we cut to General Sullivan. He's in the house, and he's like his men are like searching everywhere, and they find the note that 11 wrote for Mike saying, "I'm gonna go get my powers back, become a superhero." I remember in that episode before when he crushes it up, Mike, and throws it in the bin. I was like, don't do that.
Yeah, it was so. In hindsight, it was such like a on-screen thing to happen, of a very blatant. Yeah. But then General
Lewis did a little crunch up and throw.
I did
like slam dunk into the bin.
The general finds one of the dying policemen and kind of threatens him, saying, "You're going to tell me everything that's happened." And he's not very nice, and then the policeman just dies.
Maybe. Not sure. I think he passes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
don't think we see him again in this episode.
Yeah, I kind of got that when you were like,
it might be a different guy. Don't worry.
It's a jump into another plot line. 11 wakes up in the car.
Yeah.
She's gone with the doctor guy.
Yeah, she'd agreed in the end of the last episode to go with him willingly.
Because she wants to get her superpowers back.
Yeah.
And they're going to a top secret place.
And then it comes up 12 hours ago.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really figure into stuff. I think maybe because maybe the Hawkins thing is very on a time scale, because in the previous one Max was like, I've got like 24 hours to go and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because
I thought that this time, because I think it's saying
they didn't really need to do
I
that.
think that's happening at 12 hours before some of the other plot lines is the idea. Because there's certain things like in this they say we've got to go to Utah and that's going to take them all night. So I think they're like a day behind or something. 12 hours behind.
Do they need to explain that? Will anyone really question it?
No.
Okay.
And yeah, he's like, it's an old missile silo, and they go in. And the thing that annoyed me about this is it's a secret base, and it's like a fucking door coming out of the
in the middle of the desert.
In the middle of the desert.
It screams secret base.
I guess from like
at least like put a rock over it.
Yeah, have like it behind a rock or something.
Yeah.
And they go down, and he's like, "Oh, you're a bit of a celebrity down here," and all the scientists are like looking at her because she's like,
At first I thought it was the Russian base from the last season because it looks very similar.
I mean, they may have used some of the same assets. There.
Yeah, but it's like a former bomb.
Yeah,
like,
they say like they don't say nukes, but it's like a long range missile thing. Yeah.
So then they get to this room that's got like this big box in the middle, and he's like, "This is Nina." And it's okay.
He doesn't really explain anything about it though, does he?
No.
I
think she asks, and he's like, "Oh, it's a surprise. You'll find out." And then she calls Papa. I never know his actual name.
He's called Dr. Brenner or something, I think. Yeah.
He's there. And
he kind of dramatically walks up the gantry.
And she hasn't seen him in ages. She's grown hate towards him.
Yeah, he's like, "You probably hate me." And then she just legs it, doesn't she?
Yeah, well, he's like, "I know why you don't have powers. We can work together and get them back." Yeah, and she runs and gets to the lift door. The guards catch up with her and tranquilize her.
They do, yeah. And she's just like,
she can't use her powers because she's lost her powers now.
And then we get the intro.
Yeah, which is a cool intro.
Good intro. I mean, it's cool enough that I used it for the Halloween theme this year.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can tell Lewis listens back to the episode.
It might be that I didn't recognise it as Stranger Things.
Probably because you haven't seen Stranger Things for 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, Stranger Things would have been a good
that was the
Halloween thing to do.
Project October.
Oh, yeah, I remember singing it.
Yeah, you had to do that bit.
Yeah. So now
When I say I used it, I made a version of it. I didn't.
yeah.
Don't copyright us, Netflix. Yeah,
Yeah,
then we cut to Hopper, don't we?
Yeah, he's
after
getting
that.
beaten up by the Russians, and they're like, "We told you not to run. Now
So-
there's much pain."
He was at the church before, was he? He escaped and then got brought back.
Yeah,
Is that right? Yeah,
because he was meant to be meeting Yuri with Joyce and Murray, but he
yeah.
betrayed them.
And it was like a church, an old church that he used as like storage for all his smuggler stuff. Wasn't it? Yeah. So Yuri's like a smuggler who goes from Alaska to the USSR.
Yeah.
And he was the one who was supposed to help them, but then he realizes he can get more money by giving Joyce and Murray and the guard and Hopper, turn them all in at once.
Yeah,
for a
and he was
paycheck.
like, "I can buy a house." Yeah, he's thrown in a cell with the guard who helped him, who was codenamed Enzo to Joyce, but I don't know what his real name is.
I think they mentioned it very briefly, but I've just written Enzo.
Enzo. I first wrote Jacken, but I was like, I can't do that. It's Enzo.
And Hopper's really like mad at him, obviously.
Yeah, he starts hitting him, and the other prisoners like, kill him, kill him.
He's like a guard. Yeah, they're like, kill the pig. He's like, you said that we'd be safe, and he's like, I thought we would. Like, we gambled and we lost. Basically.
Yeah, he's like, it's Yuri's fault. Like, you know, it was a gamble. But then Hopper's then like concerned about Joyce. So if her and Murray are with Yuri and he's betrayed them, then what situation are they in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then we immediately find out what situation
we
they're
do.
in.
Yeah, Yuri's fixing his old propeller plane, whistling really out of tune. Something.
Yeah, and Joyce and Murray are tied up inside.
Yeah. I forgot that he was called Murray, so I just wrote Joyce and Guy.
Yeah, and he explains to them his plan to sell them to the Soviets.
He talks about peanut butter. That was one of his main smuggling things.
Yeah, because they don't have peanut butter in Russia.
Apparently, I feel like they maybe made that up for this. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe it's too American of a product at the time.
Yeah, maybe.
And he's a real joker, the Yuri character, isn't he? And they're like, oh, what would your mother think? Would she be proud of you? And he does like the Simpsons joke where he's like, she's dead tired of living like a bum.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's a classic. Yeah.
We quickly get a shot of two guys fishing, being like, oh, looks like Rick's out of prison, and then it moved on, and I was like, what the fuck was that? But it's because they saw Eddie hiding out in Rick's place.
Right. Yeah, because Eddie's in the boathouse of Rick.
Yeah.
We don't realize Rick's in prison, but because they see a light and someone walking around in the house, they assume. And then the word gets around immediately, I guess because he's a local drug dealer.
Yeah. I really liked Eddie. I think he was so much fun in the first episode. It's like kind of extravagant, but actually like a pretty chill, like fun guy.
Yeah, I think for me, his very first introduction when he's kind of like being the clown and the canteen, I found a little bit much.
Yeah.
But I like, when you see him with Chrissy and he's
you kind of get to know a bit more, and it's like actually he's pretty cool.
There was apparently interviews, well, I saw some quotes from the Duffer Brothers saying the scene that they filmed with Chrissy and Eddie when they're in the forest and they first meet, they filmed that after the Chrissy's death scene, and they didn't realize they had such good chemistry, and they're like, I feel like we kind of fucked up a little bit there. Because we haven't talked about that yet, but the very first episode, is it?
Yeah.
You see the first victim of Vecna's curse, and it's like
it's really gruesome.
And
at the time I was like, oh no, Eddie's gonna get blamed for this, isn't he?
And then that's most of the season.
He's just been in hiding since.
Yeah.
Eddie's
hiding. Yeah.
We are with Eddie, and he's looking through the house for food, and all he finds is like a tin of like SpaghettiOs or something.
I've written the soup or something, but I think it's like alphabet squares.
And he tries to radio Dustin because he's like, I need more food. And Nancy answers, and he's like, I'm gonna need food and some beers.
He's like, can you bring me a 6-pack to take the edge off?
Which is fair enough. He's been hiding out in like a boathouse for a week.
And so that group there, the Hawkins crew, they've all just come back from saving Max.
And they're a bit concerned about Max. And when Nancy answers, she realizes Max isn't asleep on the sofa and panics a bit. Dustin's meant to be looking, but
He's been asleep for like an hour.
she's having breakfast with Nancy's younger sister.
Yeah, and the parents there, the Wheelers, are really funny. Like the dad is so like done with this shit.
It's like, can't you just hang out somewhere else for
Yeah,
once?
he's like, it's nice you're all so close, but can't you do it somewhere else?
Yeah.
And then
It
when
must
Dustin...
be really weird for them, just like their daughter hanging out with their son's friend.
and just like weird older kids that they don't know.
Yeah,
because they're the house with the basement where they play D&D, so they're kind of used to it over the years.
I think in this it's kind of come quite a lot, particularly last season and this season, particularly this episode. Steve and Dustin's relationship is great
because they talk about it in... Is it this episode where Eddie talks about it, or is that a previous episode?
Eddie.
Oh, it might be the next episode. There's a bit where Eddie talks about how Dustin views Steve, and it's quite a cute.
Oh,
bit.
okay, yeah, no, I haven't got.
But yeah, I mean, especially season 3, they're like hanging out throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's very cute. And 2 is where that starts, isn't it? Because Steve kind of becomes more of a good guy in that.
And he's the babysitter that saves the day quite a lot. Which again, a lot of that comes up in this episode.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to be with the kids all the
time. Yeah, so Max is at the table and she's been crayoning.
Yeah, with I think she's called Holly, the little sister. Yeah.
And she's decided to do what Will previously did and draw out everything she saw in this weird world that she was in with Vecna.
Yeah, because she was kind of in... We don't really know if it's actually the Upside Down or if it's more of a Mind Palace situation.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of more of a Mind Palacey thing for Vecna, which is what they discuss in this, actually, isn't it? Because it's all different bits of this red world.
She's like, it's all just kind of nonsense. The only thing you can really see is a door with a flower on it.
And I think the grandfather clock is like flying past as well.
Yeah.
Because that's the motif that keeps coming up with the curse stuff.
And they briefly talk about Billy, who was there, and Max was kind of unsure. Like, he'd seemed like he didn't want to be there.
Billy?
Yeah, her brother.
Was he there?
Yeah, at first he's like kind of taunting her.
Oh, okay.
Before Vecna gets her properly.
But she's like, oh, Vecna did, because she found her way to that kind of hub, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was surprised that she managed to get there, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also a bit when the Wheeler dad is like, oh yeah, just take us for all you're worth, and then Dustin just like grabs like 5 waffles. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And Nancy sees her drawings and kind of light bulb moment.
Yeah, it's the door that you mentioned with the roses.
Yeah, and she starts like taking the paper, folding them all up and putting them together. And it realizes that all the random little bits she saw come together to make a house.
Yeah, and it's
the house of Victor Creel, who she had just visited.
Yeah, and then they start talking about the Mind Palace world, and they say maybe it's a backdoor to Vecna. And they start talking about Freddy Krueger, which is a very obvious comparison with the whole dreams killing thing. But did you know that the actor who played Victor Creel in the previous episode, or the episode before, previous episode, is the actor who played Freddy Krueger in all the original ones?
It's Robert Englund.
Robert Englund, yeah.
I didn't realize he played Freddy Krueger.
yeah, he was Freddy Krueger in all of them up until the remake.
Oh, nice.
That's
pretty cool.
They're wearing their references on their sleeve.
Yeah, I mean, they always have, haven't they?
It's like we said, they did a lot of the thing in the last one, and this one is all...
All the monsters are still just named after D&D characters.
Yeah, I mean, even... So in the first season especially, it's all very telegraphed with the D&D game. They're fighting the Demogorgon, they blah, blah, blah. And that kind of... They forecast it in that first battle. In the third season, when Will is trying to run that game, it's all about fighting zombies, and then it turns out there's the Flayed and all the people in the town. And in this one, Eddie's running the game with Vecna, who's the undead sorcerer guy. And then they name the mad guy off the character from the D&D.
Yeah, it's quite funny because these villains have probably actually got names in their own minds, and it's not what they've been assigned. Like he's probably like, oh no, my name's Jeff.
My name's Jeff.
But yeah, so they're like, oh, it's Victor Creel's house.
Yeah.
That's where we go next. We're back with 11, who wakes up and she's in like a cell,
Yeah,
and
she's back in.
it soon becomes apparent she's back in where she like grew up,
Yeah, the Hawkins lab, and
and she's got a shaved head as well,
yeah.
and
So the,
she's like, oh fuck.
the thing that's weird about this, because we'll go into what's actually going on here, but she wakes up and she has this realization, oh, she's wearing the gown, she's got a shaved head again.
Yeah.
When she comes to out of this, she does have a shaved head, so it's kind of
Yeah,
because the only reason she
actually,
had a shaved head in that world is because she's in her old body almost.
but don't they shave her head to put all the things on
They
her
do, yeah, but I
head?
feel like she should have had that reaction coming out of it rather than then. But
Yeah,
I
I
suppose, yeah,
suppose. But yeah, she's kind of running around, goes into the rainbow room, and
yeah,
there's all like the kids there.
yeah,
And the doctor comes in and is like, "Hello."
yeah, yeah. Hello, something about like, oh, you're finally up,
Yeah.
sunshine or whatever,
And then like
sleepyhead.
lights flashing, and that kind of repeats a few times. And she's
Yeah,
running around, keeps ending up back in the same room
yeah,
with the same doctor going, "Hello."
yes.
um
Hello. I think it's like, well, look who decided to join
yeah.
us.
And then Dr. Owens is kind of monitoring her heart rate, and it's like it's going, her heart's like racing. Like
Yeah,
this is
they're like,
not
we
good.
shouldn't have thrown her into it. And it's like, well, yeah, doy, like,
Joy. Yeah.
like, it's fucking, what are they expecting? And then
Yeah.
Papa
And
is like, no, she will, they're like, she's gonna drown. He's like, she'll learn to swim. It's
yeah.
like, you don't need, I
It's like
guess,
you should have learned that like she clearly doesn't like this and she volunteered to come here. Maybe like consult her about the
yeah,
best way
yeah.
to approach
When you were
this.
standing in front of the machine, maybe just explain it then rather than
Yeah.
just sedating her
Otherwise,
and
you know, she might run away
yeah,
or get her powers back and kill you.
she may well do that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um so yeah, she's kind of going on with that.
Yeah.
We're back with Jonathan, Will, and Mike, and they're burying the policeman in like a
Yeah,
scrapyard.
and Argyle's just like freaking out
Yeah.
massively.
Jonathan sends him to a van to go smoke some weed, and
It's a
Will's just like, really?
purple palm tree delight.
Yeah. Mike's upset that he can't find 11, and Will's like comforting him.
Yeah.
Um Argyle is then like making a gravestone for the policeman, and Jonathan's like, why do you think we're burying this body? Like, so people can't find him. And he's like, the brave policeman who saved Jonathan Byers, Will Byers,
I think he
Mike
just
and
does. I think he
Argyle.
just does first names, and then
Right.
he's
Oh
like,
yeah. He's like, do
Yeah.
you not realize why we're hiding him?
it's on a pizza box as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Then the pen doesn't work.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And Mike has thought, why did the agent give us a pen that doesn't work?
I mean, I feel like that might have just been a genuine mistake, but I suppose it was
Yeah.
worth them exploring it. But still,
Runs over, takes pen off our guy, unscrews it, and it's got a little bit of paper inside.
it does. Yeah.
He should have put the piece of paper inside a pen that does work. 'Cause then he's got a piece of paper and a pen.
I think. I guess the idea is that they'll realize and try and check the ink.
Yeah.
But that could happen to anyone. It's not secretive to that.
Yeah.
But the number on its own doesn't mean anything to other people, I suppose. So it's,
No.
yeah.
And
then we're back in USSR, aren't we?
We are.
There's Russian prisoners. They're cleaning up like body parts in the courtyards.
Yeah, and Enzo's gets the attention of one of the guards.
Yes.
And he's trying to like bargain his way out, being like, "We can make you rich."
He says Hopper's from like a rich dynasty, or
like
whatever,
an old
doesn't he?
money family. And Hopper like doesn't really
Doesn't
respond.
go along with it, and he's just like, "Shut up."
He's like prepared to die.
Then Hopper has a big monologue
Yes.
about being cursed.
So like he says, the closer he is to part of the reason he's happy to die is because the closer he is to Joyce, the more danger he's in. And he's like, I used to think I was cursed, and he said he was part of the group that mixed Agent Orange in Vietnam.
Yeah.
When they came back, loads of his friends had kids and they died.
Yeah.
He had a kid anyway that was born healthy, who then
dies,
died.
which we see in I think 2 maybe or 1.
Yeah, we've been aware of it.
I was wondering
beginning,
there's a
think.
part when he's talking about the babies that were born with birth defects and stuff, and he says spines twisted, eyes popped out. Do you think that's a Vecna reference at all?
Maybe.
I mean, it's not anything to do with Vecna, but I feel like those
Yeah.
two, that phrasing is very,
Yeah, quite possibly.
yeah, and not that it means anything particularly, but
Yeah. He said he knew of the risks but hid them, and then
yeah.
his wife left him. He went to drugs and alcohol, and everything's bad. And then he met Eleven and Joyce,
Yes.
and thought they needed him, but in actual fact, he needed them.
Yes.
He's getting very soppy and
yeah. I mean, it's a good monologue, but it is long.
yeah. And he says the moment he sent for Joyce was when he sentenced her to death.
Yeah, and he's basically finished it by saying he's not cursed, he is the curse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, cheer up,
mate. I mean, he is in probably one of the worst situations anyone can be in, but
yeah,
you know,
yeah. So then some people turn up to Eddie's like trailer where his uncle
yeah,
lives, who were the people who took 11 away.
yeah. They're effectively like the field branch of the Nina Project lot, I think, aren't they?
Yeah,
So it's a lady agent and a couple of guys that are with her, and they go in to have a look around. They see what is effectively like a moldy crack on the
yeah. And
ceiling.
Eddie's uncle's like, oh, I think it's a leak or something. They've got like a detector thing that goes
Yeah,
off.
it looks very much like when we see the gates and the kind of cracks in
Yeah,
dimensions, but it's not glowing or anything. It's just, and it was the point where Chrissy died on the ceiling, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And they're like, get out. We'll put you up somewhere else. We need to do some
yeah.
shit in here.
And then we're at Chrissy's funeral, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, she's dead.
Oh yeah.
I quite liked Chrissy as well. I felt
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
sad for
It is a
her.
shame. Yeah, I imagine she'll probably be cast in lots of things now because she was. I've never seen her in anything before. She
No.
looked familiar, but I think she just had that kind of look. But
Yeah.
she seemed to have captured the hearts and minds of a generation of internet
And of
goers.
Hawkins.
Yes,
Because lots of people were at that funeral, and her mum's very upset. And
she's very upset.
She's particularly upset that the killer's still out there.
Yeah, it's very kind of religious
And-
rhetoric about the devil and Satan.
Yeah, and so
stuff.
far this season, the basketball team, because the captain was dating Chrissy, are like,
yeah,
we're going to go fucking kill it. Actually, we're going to teach him a lesson. We're not as bad as him. We're not murderers. We're just going to turn up with baseball bats and
like
wrenches.
crowbars and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the lads I've written here are planning. They've
Yeah,
got
they
a
are.
picture of the Hellfire Club, which was the D&D club from the first episode, which was
Yeah.
led by Eddie and his bandmates, and then also had Mike, Dustin, and Lucas in it.
Yes.
Even though Lucas was kind of peeling away to join the basketball team more.
Yes, and he scored the last minute winning point to win the championship. So
That's it. So he missed the kind of finale of the D&D campaign,
replaced by his sister.
But the basketball lads didn't know that he was in the Hellfire Club.
Yeah.
And they find out from kind of yearbook photo, don't they?
Yeah, but before that, when
Yeah.
they're at the funeral, one of the basketball players turns around
Yes.
and has a vision of a grandfather clock.
Yes, Patrick, he's called.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
they
it's
say his
like-
name a lot later on.
He's gonna be dead.
He is cursed.
Yeah, but yeah, they find out that Lucas was friends with Eddie, and by this point, Lucas kind of
He's
slipped off.
Yeah, there was a part where he was with them searching for Eddie, and then he kind of sent them on a bit of a false lead, and they figured out what was going on. But we also get, I think it might be Patrick, it might be one of the other guys, says like, oh, I heard word about town from two fishermen down at the lake that Reefer Rick is back in town.
Yes.
And he's Eddie's old dealer, so that might be worth checking out. And the captain adds it onto his list of
we know
places to
that
check
is
out.
where
That
Eddie
is
is
where he
hiding.
is,
And
yeah.
we're like, oh shit.
Oh shit.
But then we're with Steve, Lucas, Robin, Nancy, Dustin, and Max.
Yes.
They've come together to go to the Victor house.
The Creel house.
The
I've
Creel
written
house.
it.
Yeah. And it's locked. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, so Robin steps up and does the smart thing of throwing a brick through the door.
Yeah.
And
Through that lovely rose-stained
yeah.
glass from the 1950s.
And they're all kind of walking around there like, oh shit, everything's left as it was when like all the
Yeah.
deaths happened in the 50s.
And Max sees the grandfather clock and she's like, is everyone else seeing this?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we see it. I guess this is where he got it from. Like, it's just a clock. It's all good kind of thing.
But that is the clock that everyone's been seeing.
That is
Chrissy
it, yeah.
saw it. Max saw it.
And Patrick's now seen it as well. Yeah. And the lights kind of flicker a bit while they're walking around and stuff.
Yeah, and Steve suggests maybe he's a clockmaker.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
But yeah, it's when they split into pairs, and naturally, Max and Lucas go together. Robin and Nancy go together because they'd already had a bonding moment earlier.
Yeah.
And it's left with Steve and Dustin, and Steve's like, "What?" He like sighs, and Dustin's like, "What?" He's like, "It's just I'm always left with you, like just always us two."
Oh, it's very ungrateful, isn't it, his friend? Because we haven't mentioned, but it seems like the romance between Nancy and Steve is at least somewhat being rekindled. At least their friendship is being rekindled.
Partly because Nancy and Jonathan are long distance.
Yeah, and he's kind of pulling away from her because he wants to go to a different university.
Yeah.
I've no idea where it's going, to be honest, because I do feel like it would be a little bit. I guess it's full circle, and they were good together originally. He was just a bit of a twat, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not that invested in these romances. To be honest,
I like Steve. I think Steve's a fun character.
Yeah.
Just keep on doing Steve stuff.
Yeah,
I'm pretty indifferent to Jonathan and Nancy.
I think Jonathan is probably one of the worst characters. He just doesn't. There was some cool stuff like, is it season 1 when he's like chilling with Will and he's like showing him like the Clash songs or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's like,
that's cool. Season 2, he mopes around being like, "Oh, my brother's got trauma."
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, your brother's got trauma.
And there's some funny stuff at the start of this season where he's like a stoner and like,
yeah,
there's the bit at the dinner where he's just like completely zoned out and he's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But it's kind of overshadowed by Argyle because he's like the funny stoner, whereas Jonathan's just like the sad stoner.
Yeah. So we're back in Yuri's plane flying to the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And they're trying to talk to Yuri, realize he can't hear them.
Yeah,
so
Murray's like, I need to pee, like,
yeah,
help me.
And then they're like, oh, he can't hear us. We can do something here.
Yeah.
So Joyce kicks over a box.
Well, I think that's in the next bit. Or is that where it starts?
She kicks and the glass breaks and she tries to reach glass. And Murray's like, do we really want to do this like when we're flying?
Yeah, he's like, what are we gonna do after we get out?
And it turns out his black belt in karate's just like been fighting kids.
Yes, yeah. But then he goes from being like, oh, I've only fought like 16-year-olds to like being like, actually, that 16-year-old is like really highly skilled. And I beat him once, and he like hypes himself up and he's like, yeah.
And then we're back at the Hawkins lab.
Yeah.
Eleven's running around in.
Yeah, she's just doing loops.
Ends up backing up in the rainbow
Lazarus
room.
style.
Keeps seeing that doctor, and then she gets a chair and like screams at the camera.
Yeah, and then she ends up realizing she has a vibe that she looks in the mirror and she sees that her reflection is her younger self.
Yeah, she's like a foot smaller.
pre season 1, I think. Isn't it? Because what we find out, the very first scene of season 4 is that flashback to the lab when there's like the massacre at the lab.
Yeah,
and that's why she's the only one left at the start of season 1. She's the number, she's the subject kind of thing. Whereas before there was at least 10 other ones, we guess.
Yeah.
If she's the youngest, there might even be ones after her. I think there is ones after her. I think there was a 13 or something as well.
So we met one in season 3, who's number 7.
I think that whole group are all X numbers.
No, it's just her because the rest of them were like, "Who the hell are you?"
Right,
when she first met. I didn't really like that plot line.
Who was she? Like 7 or something?
I think she was 7. Yeah.
Well, I heard someone say that there was a flashback in this season, like a very brief flashback to a moment from there, and she just wasn't in it. So they like almost edited her out of it. That character.
Nice. um, yeah. Where are we?
Yeah, Papa starts doing a voiceover because he's got a mic into her chamber, and he
Yes.
tells her about the origin of the Nina name, and it's an opera about a woman whose lover died, and she buried the memory, and she kept going back to the station waiting for him every day, and she's in a memory, and they're kind of doing it through like screens with CCTV mixed with like I
Yeah.
guess drugs and sound
Yeah.
things. And he says like you've got to find your own way out, because she's like let me out. And
Yes.
it seems to be that once she goes with the flow of the memory, like engaging with the guy that's talking to her,
Yeah.
then it carries on, whereas she was looping because she was trying to
But because
move
she
past it.
doesn't remember doing anything else, there's
Yeah,
nothing for her to run to because that memory
that's
doesn't
the thing.
exist.
Yeah, so that's why she keeps ending back up
So
in there.
she kind of focuses and goes with the doctor,
Yeah,
and she's like, "Am I in trouble?" And
yeah.
it's kind of jittering between her and a younger her
Yeah,
on
yeah. And the
screen.
younger version is good because it's a kid with her face on it, I guess, like a kind of CGI
Yeah, I
mix.
think.
But I think it's pretty well done.
Yeah.
And they use it sparingly, like you say, like it's reflections, it's occasional flashes, and
Mm.
yeah, it's quite effective.
Yeah, and they go to a room, and Papa walks in.
It's something to do with training or something, isn't it?
Yeah, and all the kids kind of leave out in a line together.
Yeah.
And then we kind of see a shot of her floating in water in like a sensory, what's it,
Yes. Deprivation
deprivation,
tank.
which I
Yeah.
assume what's inside Nina.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much that. We see some shots either in this or maybe in another episode. Yeah, you can kind of see reflections of screens above her.
Right.
And I think it's, yeah, like I say, it's a mixture of CCTV from the Hawkins lab mixed
Yeah.
with, I don't know what other kind of stimuli. But yeah, we go back to the desert kids, don't we? And
Yeah, they found a payphone and they call
the number
the
was in the
number, and it's
pen.
kind of
Yeah.
making a weird noise, and they're like, "What's that?" And then
Yeah.
Mike figures out that they called a computer.
Yeah. It's kind of like an IP address kind of thing, I
Yeah, and
think.
they're like, We need a hacker." It's like, I know one in Utah.
Yes.
And it turns out to be Dustin's girlfriend
Susie,
from the end
yeah.
of last
And they
season.
start singing the never ending story thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and our guy's like, "Oh, I love the never ending story."
He's like, that bad guy was pure existential dread.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gonna go visit Susie in
Yeah,
Utah
that's right.
because they need a hacker.
And they need Susie back again for at least a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be weird that they'll go see her without Dustin, but
There.
yeah.
And then
Cool.
Eddie's at the boathouse and
Yeah.
he's kind of pacing around still. And
He hears a car pull up, and
he
it's the
does.
basketball team. And
Yeah.
he's trying to radio Dustin, but when they've gotten searching around Victor Creel's house,
Yeah.
Steve has put the bag down by the door, so they can't hear the radio.
Yeah, I feel like it's the one time in this whole series that Dustin doesn't have his radio next to him. Because
Yeah.
normally he's got like he just pulls this giant radio out from like his arse, basically.
Yeah.
It's about like a foot tall. He just has it on him. And this one
Yeah,
time,
I think
he
it was
doesn't have
in
it.
the early seasons, he had like a headset, didn't he?
Yeah,
He'd be cycling around being like,
that's true. Yeah,
"Code red, code red."
they mentioned in the previous episode about batteries because there's a part where he's like, "You don't have any spare batteries," blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like if you think about, they would have to be buying batteries constantly.
Yeah,
and like the Cerebro thing that he makes in season 3, that's on the hill.
Yeah.
What is that being powered by? Is it just
batteries?
like fucking
Shit ton of
ton of batteries? Yeah.
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 But yeah, so then we go to Victor Creel's house, and
Oh yeah, because he calls them, then it kind of cuts to them in the
yeah,
house.
and
doesn't
Steve's
it?
like, "What clues are we looking for?"
Yeah.
And Dustin quotes Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And Steve finds a jar of spiders.
Yeah, it's like in a compartment thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
and then freaks out, and like one's on his shoulder.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, they were Black Widows."
Because we've seen a lot of them in the visions as well.
That's right. Yeah, lots of the stuff was like spiders coming out from places, or I mean, even Vecna himself is kind of spidery with the weird bits that
when
come
he's
out.
like, yeah,
When he's doing his power, he kind of gets
his back to tank equivalent.
yeah, it's kind of like tentacles coming out the walls into like plugging into him,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, but yeah, there's spidery motifs. I keep saying that.
Yeah, and Nancy's kind of picking stuff out of Steve's hair, and it's a
Yeah.
little bit awkward there, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, and I
um,
think Robin kind of comes in and breaks the tension talking about
yeah.
spiders or something.
And then they go
doesn't
look for clues, and Steve copies Dustin's quote from
she?
Sherlock
That just
Holmes.
fucks it up completely.
He's like,
doesn't it?
yes, that's Sherlock Holmes.
She's like, what?
um,
And then Max is listening to
Run
so
Up the Hill.
so she's listening to Running Up That Hill. They say on this that they made a 46-minute loop of it. So I guess
Yeah.
they just recorded a full tape. They don't really ever specify that she has to continuously listen to it.
I don't think she has to. I think she's choosing to as a comfort thing.
Yeah, because she mentions in this, she's like, what if I just listen to it and it's not my favorite song anymore and then it doesn't work? And I'm like, yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because it's about the emotional response to it, isn't it? And they say about music reaching certain parts of your brain and stuff like that. But
yeah, I think she just listens to it on repeat because.
But they say when she couldn't sleep, she was like, yeah, people just kept blasting music in my ears. It's like, I guess they occasionally will just put it on her and just turn it on as like a precaution.
Yeah. Yeah, and Lucas says, oh yeah, I'm now like a mega fan of Kate Bush.
Yeah. Because she like saved her life and stuff.
She saved, and Max kind of laughs. He's like, oh, I misses your laugh because they've broken up for this season.
Yeah.
And I think he misses her a bit and kind of wants to get back, and she's just like, no, you've become a jock.
Yeah, she's kind of preoccupied with her personal issues, isn't she?
Yeah. But then she sees lights flashing like it's been apparent throughout all seasons of Stranger Things. Which I guess implies that it is the Upside Down.
Yeah, so he is in the Upside Down.
But his world with Max,
but his red world is a separate kind of thing. Yeah.
So Max and Lucas like follow the lights.
Yes. And then we go back to the Hawkins lab flashback.
We are getting there.
yeah, we're almost there. Then there's another bit with lights here, which I guess is supposed to be clever.
I guess it's supposed to be
some sort of training.
You could say that about a lot of parts of Stranger Things, I feel.
Yeah.
I guess that's supposed to be clever.
Well, I mean, it's like, oh, Vector can control lights. Oh, look, 11 can as well because they're all connected. It's like, yeah. So this whole scene, so it's 11 in her flashback memories doing some sort of light training with all the kids. She gets picked. The kids are laughing because she can't do it. I don't remember this scene at all. Like I either was not looking at the screen for the whole 4 or 5 minutes, or I walked out of the room or something. So this was nice to watch it again, even though it was not an important scene at all.
Yeah. She's trying to use her power, but it's not much luck, and the kids are laughing, as you say.
Yeah. Then she looks at her hands, doesn't she? And she's got
before that she lights up the lights a bit.
Yeah.
And like it's a waste of time, but she has used a bit of power for the first time since the end of season 3.
Well, though it's
in her head.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Then she's got a load of blood on her hands, and she looks up, and everyone's gone.
Yeah. And then it kind of cuts through that first scene where
we're back at the massacre.
Yeah. The Hawkins lab massacre. And and then does it cut to her kind of in the tank? Like, and she's kind of having like a bit of a seizure or some sort of...
Dr. Owens is like, it's too high, we need to get her out.
Yeah.
And Brenna's like, nah.
And it's like,
I've done worse to her.
She's not quite dead yet, so... then we're back on Yuri's plane, aren't we?
Yeah, and Yuri's spotted Joyce cutting her rope with the glass that she's smashed before.
Yeah, I think she's got hers just done, and she's doing Murray's or something, and then he kind of confronts her. And then Murray's free behind Yuri, and he's like, my fingers are like arrows, my arms like iron, my feet like spears. Resist and I'll end you. Turn this plane round and I'll spare your life. And Yuri just like starts laughing.
Yeah,
doesn't
I
he?
just wrote down Murray makes speech.
Yeah, I thought I'd write it down while it was
Yeah,
going.
but he kicks the gun away from Yuri.
Yes. Yeah, to be
And
fair,
they
I
start
thought it
fight.
was going to be like the Indiana Jones thing where Murray just got like shot
Yeah.
straight away.
And they fight for a bit, and whilst they're fighting,
Yeah.
Joyce goes to try and get the gun.
Yeah, the plane controls get knocked up and down a few times, and the plane's going
and
up
Yuri's
and down.
like kind of steadies it.
Yeah.
Joyce shoots at Yuri, misses, but breaks the glass at the
Yes.
front. And then Yuri quickly makes the plane go up so that Joyce falls
she
back.
drops the gun. They're kind of fighting over the gun, and then Murray does his speech.
He grabs
again.
the gun and does the speech.
Yeah, and he after each bit, he's kind of doing a hit on Yuri, isn't he? Like, my fingers are like arrows.
Yeah, and he knocks out Yuri essentially.
Yeah, and then Joyce is like, "I said, don't knock him out."
Yeah, who's gonna fly the plane now?
Yeah.
And then the plane engine like goes off because they're trying to fiddle with bits.
Yeah.
And it's like above the tree line. They kind of maneuver it slowly into a fairly good crash landing.
Yeah,
which is quite impressive considering neither of them know how to fly.
It is, yeah. I mean, yeah, you see it a lot in films and TV. I wonder how easy that kind of thing would be.
I don't think easy at all.
I mean, I guess a lot. It depends how much, like, because in things they just use the controls. They don't like the joys. What's it called? Flight stick. Whereas you probably have to like flick switches as you go.
Yeah.
Like move the rudder and because if all it is just the angle, you just do like as high an angle as possible and just like I'm not saying I could do it, but I'm saying from TV and film it makes it seem like
even if you did do that, as soon as you hit the ground, you'd probably flip over and explode.
It just stops and just flips over.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's why you have to get the wheels out. That's one of the buttons.
One of the wheels broke as they were going into the trees.
Wow. I mean, normally if I was to land the plane.
Do you know which button gets the wheels out?
No, but if I played enough Microsoft Flight Simulator 2022, I probably
does that have an accurate?
Yeah, it's all accurate. That's why it's Flight Simulator.
Yeah, but like Goat Simulator doesn't do what
Goat Simulator is a joke, whereas like Truck Simulator is real trucks. That's the whole point of it. That's why that's why those games are fucking boring.
Silly, isn't it? And why Goat Simulator is actually quite fun.
Yeah, because it doesn't take itself. They also, I'm pretty sure Goat Simulator 3 has just been announced, and they just skipped 2.
Oh, I was gonna say I didn't realize there was a second one.
It's just classic Goat Simulator.
Yeah, they successfully crash land.
Yeah.
So they were back at the house.
Yeah.
Max tells the group that the lights are like the upside down lights. It's where Vecna is. He's in the house on the other side. So Nancy's like, turn off the lights and fan out. Turn off your torches or flashlights, as they call them.
Yeah.
I always forget that Americans don't call torches.
No, that's just the flaming torches.
Yeah. And Nancy's like, flashlight is like flashing. Coincidentally
like a
enough.
light, yeah.
It's weird they're called flashlights in America when they don't flash.
They don't flash, no. Why are flashlights? Flashlights.
Called flashlights.
Flashlights. Let's see. It comes up. Why do British people call flashlights torches?
Because they do the same thing as like a really old-fashioned torch.
Torches are made properly. They don't flash.
Yeah.
It did actually. The original one in 1899 did flash because of the low voltage of the cells.
That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah. Device never came to Britain. A few weeks later, Joseph Swan, who invented the light bulb about 6 months before Edison, came up with a low voltage bulb, which therefore didn't flash.
Oh, there you go.
So, I've learned a lot today.
Did it better than the Americans, are you saying?
People are saying that may or may not be true.
I will choose to believe it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, Britain good, America bad. Some ways. I mean, we both got checkered past, haven't we?
I thought you meant me and you
We
personally.
both got American
Checkered
interests.
past.
We both got checkered past.
Anyway,
We're almost at the end here, aren't we?
They follow the lights and it goes up to the attic. We're back at Rick's house with the basketball team searching around the house for Eddie.
The funeral lads.
The funeral lads. And the Patrick gets a vision again.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, his clock is ticking.
Did we see anything about why he's cursed? Because the other ones, we got little flashes of indications, like the Fred kid was in like a car accident or something, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that kid.
And Chrissy, yeah, I forgot. Chrissy was, her
Doing
mum
drugs.
was, I think her mum was like abusive or something, or
Yeah.
I think it was something to do with like
Past like trauma.
it was to do with like bulimia or something, I think, because there's a bit where her mum's like, you're not gonna fit in that dress or something. I don't know, but yeah, they've all got like issues, but I don't know if we see what Patrick's thing is, do we?
No.
But yeah, as they're kind of going around the house, they get to the boat house, the boat part of the boathouse,
Yeah.
and the boat's gone.
Yeah, and they look out to the water, and Eddie's out on the boat,
Yeah,
trying to get the engine to start.
so he must have rowed out to a point, and then he's trying to get the engine on.
Yeah, and it won't start. So Patrick and the basketball captain go swimming after him.
Yeah, they just immediately start taking their clothes off.
And Eddie's trying to row away.
Yeah, and these guys are swimming like fucking fast. I know they're basketball guys.
They are athletes.
But like they're fucking chopping through the water.
I was just like, I would feel confident that I could row away from people swimming.
Yeah,
Once you
because
get
each
going-
stroke of a row, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It's like it takes you like a good meter or so.
Yeah, and it's
Maybe,
not,
and there's momentum to it.
And I don't think it'd wear you out as much as swimming, so you could do it for longer.
Yeah, it depends on your fitness levels as well, I suppose. Like he's probably not as fit as them, so it might be more equal. It depends who you ask. I suppose,
Yeah. So they're in the attic of the house now. The other lot, they're standing in a circle with their flashlights.
Yeah, they're like kind of pointing them up at the ceiling or something.
And they do the classic Stranger Things thing of the camera twisting around.
Yes, into the upside down.
And we see Vecna in the same room in the upside down, but in that weird tentacly hooked up thing, as you said before.
Yeah, he's kind of suspended from the ceiling.
Yeah, it's like a Baxter tank without the water.
Yeah. Or like something where someone's plugged into loads of stuff.
The Matrix.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Like those things that go in the back of their heads, it's that, but all down his back, like Doc Ock style.
Yeah, it's a bit Doc Ock, actually, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just that. We're back to Eddie rowing.
Yes.
And the guy Patrick gets a vision again.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, what are you doing? Hurry up.
He kind of stops swimming, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then he disappears under the water.
He kind of gets pulled under the water.
And Eddie and the captain both kind of stop because they're like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
And then he flies up into the air like Chrissy had done, like the weird, annoying kid did.
Fred.
Yeah,
I didn't like Fred, did you? He was like, I'm gonna try and be your boyfriend, Nancy.
Yeah, he's like fucking Cole in the Lazarus Project.
Yeah. In some ways, yeah.
Oh, let's sow the seeds of doubt so I can steal you from your boyfriend.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
He was a bit of a snake, wasn't he?
He really was.
More of a worm than a snake, I would say.
But yeah, and then
Patrick
gets like fucked up.
He starts cracking up.
And his jaw goes off.
Yeah, his eye pops up and pops out.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm glad, because I knew it was going to happen. I was like, I hope this happens in front of the basketball captain.
Yes.
So that he might believe that Eddie didn't do that to Chrissy, because
although at the same time it happens when Eddie's there, which is also not ideal, I suppose, in some ways.
But he said earlier in this episode that he doesn't believe in any of that supernatural bullshit.
Yes, now he's seen it for himself.
And so then we get the final scene, which is 11 being revived.
Well, when that's happening, all the flashlights like blow out in the...
Oh, yeah.
There's clearly some energy shit going on in there.
Yeah, Vecna's up to something.
Yeah. And then 11's in the tank.
She gets revived.
Yes.
And she hits Papa
Yeah,
Brenner
with like a defibrillator thing.
and runs, and she gets to the lift, but it takes ages. The guards catch up.
Yeah.
And then she uses her powers.
Yeah,
she
she does like a
a
psychic
scream and like a
smash.
quite Jean Grey
Yeah. Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And they get knocked off, but the lift still hasn't come because they're
Yeah.
really far down.
And then Papa turns up and she goes to like do her push on him, but she can't. So
Yeah.
she hasn't got them back, but
He's-
she's tapped into it a little
He
bit.
said it was never going to be that easy.
Yeah.
The lift arrives and it opens, and he's like, "Look, you can leave, or
But-
you can stay here.
Yeah.
You can see what we're doing is giving you your powers back. Stay, do it some more."
Yeah.
And she has a decision to make, and she chooses to go with him.
Yeah, it's kind of extended hand moment, and yeah, she takes her time and then walks off with him. He says like, we can be papa and daughter again. It's a bit like, you're a creep.
He's really.
I was saying when we were rewatching it earlier to Amy, like he's definitely got something weird about him, like because when she gets tranquilized, he like cradles her like a weird little kid, and it's like I don't think he's like a pedo, but like do you know what I mean? Like the fact he like loves having loads of kids and he like wants them all to call him papa and stuff, like it's obviously there's something a bit dodgy going on there, isn't there?
It's a bit weird.
It's a bit pedo-y, isn't it?
He's the sort of guy that would have run a project that we would cover for this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, we are doing that right now.
Yeah, but a
aren't we?
real life one.
Yeah.
You know, your Sidney Gottlieb type
Yes,
man,
yes,
I imagine
yes.
was fairly similar.
I mean, my Stargate lads were all right, weren't they? Those
they were
two.
just hippies, weren't they?
They were just chill guys. But
Sidney Gottlieb was a hippie who liked to torture and kill people.
yeah, and there was another one as well, wasn't there? Can't remember. Oh, some of them. I mean, Montauk was not real, was it? So-
A119 had Cole Sagan. He seems
Yeah,
alright.
he
So,
seems Cool, yeah.
that is the end of that episode.
that is the end.
A long old episode. It was. I feel like it's a sort of episode of like finding out some stuff, and
Yeah.
after like a big kind of peak of episode 4,
Yeah.
kind of getting everything in place for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
kind of
all the
episode.
11 stuff was very clearly like memory plot background stuff, rather than anything kind of progressing for. It was the indication that her powers are coming back is the only progression, in the modern day.
we've kind of learned a bit about Vecna
yeah, the connection with the
Victor Creel
the
house.
Creel house. Yeah. I mean, you can tell there's more to go in lots of ways, and you learn a lot more going.
I was a
through.
bit when I finished this, I was like, oh, I want to watch more.
I
But,
know. When did you watch it? Friday or Saturday?
yes, this Saturday. Yesterday.
Oh, cool. Okay, so not too bad.
I just went and did some other stuff that we'll talk about
Okay,
in the
yeah.
upcoming section. But I've enjoyed this season so far.
Yeah.
I think it's to good standard.
Yeah. What do you think about this episode? Kind of overall, like, what would you say?
It's kind of hard because it's just
I wouldn't say filler. Are you thinking filler?
not a filler.
It's not a filler, but it treads water a little bit, and it kind of
and when you kind of binge watch a series and then like focus on one in particular,
it
it's
is
just
quite
one
tricky.
cog in the machine type of thing.
I don't think it was a bad episode in any way. I think like the stuff
No.
on the plane's good. I think
yeah.
them kind of exploring the Creel house has kind of Scooby-Doo vibes. and
Yeah,
it's classic Stranger Things in lots of ways with the lights.
Yeah, I think it was good.
Yeah. I think there's probably episodes in this season that are closer to like 8s, maybe 9s if I'm being.
I think the previous episode was really good.
Yeah, so I think this probably, if I was to give it a number rating, probably around a 7.
I was thinking a 7.
Because I think 6 is probably not quite fair. Because the quality of these are pretty consistent. At least in
I'd
this
say like
current
the
season.
series as a whole is a solid like 8 at least in my view.
Yeah.
But this episode in particular, I'd say a 7.
Yeah, I'm like
I
same
think-
with you. I'm finding it hard to differentiate from ones that come before and even ones after for me as well. So
but this is kind of
Yeah.
set things up to kind of the next few episodes to really
Yeah.
kick off.
Well, I mean, I won't spoil anything for anything coming, but I'm very interested about this 2.5 hour episode because there's pieces in place, as you can imagine, but I have
Yes.
no idea what's going to happen. And that's exciting. And you've got like 2.5, 3 hours more before that, I think.
Yeah, they're really kind of inconsistent lengths.
Yeah, a lot of them are. This episode was like an hour and 19 or an hour and 18 or something.
I think it was like 22.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah. Well, about an hour and 20
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
And a lot of them are about this. And then the new 2 is 88 minutes and 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I did know that before because people at
Yeah.
work have been talking about
I'd
it.
heard they'd released the runtimes a while back, and I'd heard the last one was long, but I didn't know it was 2.5 hours.
That's a long film.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the volume 5 release is just like 3 films.
Well, what is interesting, season 1 had 8 episodes.
Right.
Season 2 had 9.
Yeah.
Season 3 had 8.
Yeah.
Season 4, 9 with those 2. So they have been fairly consistent with episode numbers.
Okay, yeah. But then the length of the content is like 5 hours longer.
Yeah, so they might to fit the pattern, it could be 8 episodes that are each 2 hours long.
Fucking hell, yeah. Or they keep with kind of
Game of Thrones had a consistent. It was always 10 episodes.
Well, I was thinking even if they don't keep that consistency, just do 3 hour long episodes.
Yeah,
and then it's the same length as season 1, so it's 9 hours long.
Yeah,
but
I kind of don't want them to just condense the last season because again, that was one of the problems with Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It was always like 10 episodes, and then the last one, like, we're gonna do it in 6.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still reeling from the reveal from yourself that there is a season 5 coming, because I just assumed it was only like a few days ago when we were talking about doing this. You were like, oh, something about season 5. I was like,
think
what?
because
it's so extra them doing a 2.5 hour finale to not even the fucking final season.
And the fact that the last 2 episodes have come out like
well
over a month after
that
the
is
rest of the season.
That is because they've realized that dropping episodes all at once means that their programs are only talked about for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think they will do this last one in like 3 or 4 parts because they need to keep that weekly shot going. You're right.
Yeah, but I was thinking like because Netflix have always done a whole dump all online at once.
Yeah, big dump all at once.
Do you reckon the success of some of the Marvel shows and Disney Plus shows in general tend to be weekly, and they've been like, oh shit, people do like weekly stuff. They realise that people talk about the Mandalorian for like 2 months straight.
100%, yeah.
And they're like, why aren't we doing that?
That's
People talk about Stranger Things for a week.
I thought that it was actually in 2 halves. I thought there was going to be another like 7. I'm glad there's not, because although it basically is, because it's 4 hours of content.
Yeah.
But it's definitely that 100%, because they don't want to move away from it completely. If they started doing weekly, people would complain because people love binge watching stuff, and it's kind of.
And we had the conversation before, particularly in Netflix, when we talked about like the Marvel Netflix series.
Yeah.
One advantage of sticking all at once is that people don't notice your filler episodes as much.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was prominent in some of the Marvel series.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Some of those.
And generally shows on Netflix.
Yeah. Especially,
but I think at this point they gotta have faith in their star show to be consistently
that's
good.
What I mean. If they, I don't know. I feel like if they nail the landing for this, I'll have high hopes for season 5. Yeah, and it all comes down to this last episode for me. Really,
there's a lot of pressure on a final season.
Yes, especially like you say after Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, like Breaking Bad had a good last season.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones didn't.
And there's other examples
There's
too.
other examples of TV shows that have existed.
I'm going with a 7. You
Also
thinking
7,
similar? Yeah. Nice. Anything else to add there? Or you want to do some predictions potentially?
Oh yeah. So
where do you think? I'll just look away from you.
I think I'll also look away from you. I think at the end of the season, 11's going to use some magic and save the day.
I don't think it's actually magic.
No, it's not. But it's
magic turns into like a Doctor Strange style. She starts having glowing shit happening.
It's like
Mental magic.
Mental magic.
Mental arithmetic.
I reckon Jonathan and Nancy reunite and do lots of kissing.
Ooh, lots of kissing.
What else? I think Eddie will be cleared.
Yeah.
I
Do you think anyone's gonna die? Because I feel like that would be a good way of
Ooh.
raising the stakes, but I don't know
No.
because Eddie would be the most obvious one to kill because he's a new character.
Yeah, and they have killed off new characters before, like Bob, Sean Astin's character. In
Yeah,
season 2.
exactly. But at the same time, I feel like they're trying really hard to make Eddie a character,
Yeah,
and it's working for the most part. Like you
Yeah.
got on with him well, kind of thing. When you hung out last week, you know he's a British actor.
Is he?
Yeah.
There's lots of British people in this.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Well, like
surprising.
3. But out of the main cast of Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I was going to say? Prediction wise,
What about like the upside down style? Upside down style.
they'll think it's over, and then episode 1 of the next season, they'll be like, "Oh
It's
shit, it's
back."
not over," because that seems to happen all the time. What was the other thing I was gonna? They'll get Hopper back probably.
Oh yeah, I'm interested to see how that all kind of pans out.
They'll get him back. He must have filmed like most of the season just alone, away from the rest of the cast.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I heard somewhere they filmed some of it in like Lithuania, so I suppose all the Soviet stuff was filmed there. Even though a lot of that could just be on a green screen, but
yeah, okay. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, and maybe I'll talk about it in personal projects.
Yeah, I think we'll both finish up
weeks.
and then episode or 2 away.
Yeah, which means now it's time for
personal projects.
Personal projects.
So, Sam, after we've listened to that, another great jingle there. Not jingle, this time it's personal.
It's a jingle, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you changed your persona a little bit. Okay, so after that little jingle there.
Well, you know.
You'll be like, wow, that was the best one.
Well, because this one was a bit more of a serious one.
Yes, I remember 5 seconds ago, yes.
I really enjoy saying what type of one it was, because it then puts pressure on you to find something that matches my description.
I don't ever listen to find out. I just
I
still haven't used that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. one that you told me about.
Oh yeah, maybe that could be this one. I really enjoyed Deke saying this time it's personal.
Yeah, me too.
So what have you been watching, reading, doing, dancing, drawing?
Almost all of those things. Yeah, I mentioned earlier. Went to Glastonbury Festival. Had a great time. One of the artists I didn't think I would see is do you know Corrupt FM? They are. So do you know the mockumentary series People Just Do Nothing?
No.
So it's about like a garage radio, a pirate radio station in London. It's very kind of The Office, like kind of dryish British humor.
Right.
But they're all like roadmen who are like dumb and love garage music. Anyway, I started watching a bit of that and then saw that they were on the bill. We ended up going to see a little bit of them perform on like a big thing, like rapping kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I've carried on watching that since I've been back because it's kind of perfect, like short episodes, like I say, kind of office humor. So I've been watching that. I've been enjoying it. There is a film where they go to Japan that's come out last year, so I'll probably get to that at some point. But
nice.
Yeah, been watching a bit of that. What about yourself?
So a couple of things I was going to mention. I watched in one sitting last weekend Man vs. Bee, the Rowan Atkinson series.
I watched the first episode last night.
Yeah. So I think after the first episode, the rest of the episodes are like 10 minutes long. So you can get through the whole thing in like
first
2
one was
hours.
like 20 minutes almost, 15 minutes. Yeah.
And then all the episodes are just consecutive, like literally lead on from.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It seems from that and from previous thing, it's kind of like Mr. Bean, but he's got a bit of personality.
Yeah.
And it's not the Mr. Bean IP that they have to pay someone for, I imagine.
It's a bit silly.
I mean, the whole first thing she's going through, these are all the things that could go wrong, and there's all the codes. Oh, no, he burned it all straight away.
Yeah.
Like, the setup is not super clean, but it sets a lot of potential for
it's one of those kind of Saturday afternoon easy watch.
yeah.
It's one of those that like, oh, that's quite funny, but you never actually laugh type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched all that, and that was it's fine. It's nice to see Rowan Atkinson still doing stuff.
Yeah. From what I saw, he's still good. I was going to say something more complimentary there, but he seems good still.
And the other thing, what I've spent most of my week doing alongside watching Stranger Things, sometimes both at the same time.
Right.
I've been playing Jurassic World Evolution.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it was on offer on the PlayStation Store.
Cool.
So used a bit of birthday money to get myself that.
It's like a park builder, isn't it?
Yeah. So did you ever play like Zoo Tycoon as a kid?
No, I played like a bit of like a hospital tycoon. Or
it's like you build all the like enclosures and manage the park. You've got to like go and like send teams out to excavate fossils so you can get enough fossils to recreate a dinosaur.
So you're starting from like scratch.
You start with some basic ones, and then like the more fossils you get, the more likely they are to be successfully incubated, because sometimes they'll die.
Right. Okay.
You've got like, it's got the park stuff like hotels. You've got to get teams out to like fix fences and all kind of that kind of
nice.
shit. It's good fun, and like it's kind of got a loose campaign thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Where you start on one island, and once you build that up to 3 stars, it unlocks another island.
Right.
And there's 5 in total, and each one's got like their own issue.
Right.
So like one is one's like really long and thin, and it's quite hard to manage where to put everything.
Right.
And it has a load of storms. I had to restart that one. So I had a storm come through and just destroy everything. And I was like, oh,
so do the dinosaurs get loose and stuff then? Right.
And then you have to like tranquilize them, put them back in.
So you like send so is it a bit like Age of Empires, kind of like you select the and someone will go over and like attack like
it's got some fun elements in that, because you can get in the Jeep yourself and drive around the park and go and shoot the dinosaurs yourself if you want to, or you can just send them to do it.
Oh, that's fun.
That unlocked. There's another island, which is the island from Jurassic Park 2.
Yes.
It's just there's dinosaurs loose.
They're already just
so
there,
you've got like the main core bits, and then like 15 stegosauruses and a spinosaurus just wandering about.
Oh, cool.
So you have to build the enclosures and then put them in it. And then go from there. Another one was like, oh yeah, the last owners of this fucked up. You start with like minus $1 million. You know?
Okay.
And then you build up, and then eventually the last one you unlock is the Jurassic Park island. And it's just a sandbox, so you've got unlimited money. You can just build it up however you want.
Nice.
But it's been good fun. I've been enjoying. Spent a lot of time on it this week.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Oh, cool.
And just thoroughly enjoying getting through and making the park. It's good, like going out and discovering like the fossils and then being like, cool, now I can make a velociraptor type thing.
Nice.
And then put them out, and then like, okay, so what do they need in their enclosure? They need a bit more forest. They need a bit less water.
I've never played them. I've heard good things about them, and when looking up certain things for the Jurassic World series stuff that we did, things pop up, and I think there might be a sequel coming at some point. Or is it out?
So I've got the first one. The second one came out like last year or the year before.
Right, okay, so it's still like full price.
I was like,
start from the beginning.
Yeah, if it's on offer, it's not like I'm gonna notice.
And also, the sequel's not always better for things as well, is it?
I think I did read the sequel is better, but it'll be
well, fuck me then, I guess.
But it'll be like when that's on offer, I'll get that then.
Yeah.
I have nothing to compare this to now, so this is good.
Yeah,
I remember like, when I was younger, I had Zoo Tycoon, and I had in an extra CD case the Dinosaur Digs expansion pack.
Okay, so it's very similar.
So it was like that, but obviously it's a lot more advanced. Now they also have bits so you get given like missions. You've got a science department, a security department, and an entertainment department.
Right.
Who will give you challenges to do. Sometimes it's like, entertainment would be like, make a Triceratops kill a T-Rex. go
Oh,
on,
really?
do it. And like, you don't have to accept. Quite often, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, I don't want to do that because the T-Rex is fucking expensive to
Does
create.
someone like radio in and tell you to do
Yeah,
it?
it
Kind of thing,
comes.
like it pops
It
up. as
pops
a-
off a mission.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ignore one of those sections for too long, they then sabotage. So like either make dinosaurs ill or shut down the power, like Dennis Nedry style.
okay,
And it's
yeah.
like, I mean, fuck you, fucking security
Wow.
bastards. But yeah, there's enough different elements to it to make it quite fun. And I think
Nice.
I played it a bit this morning, and I played 28 hours or something so far.
Yeah.
I've just got to like the final island, so
Nice.
it's, and then you can obviously then go back round and do all the missions and essentially try and 100% it.
Yeah. I imagine there's DLC for it somewhere as well.
Yeah, with
Imagine
like
probably.
I think so I've done all the islands, but I've unlocked like half the dinosaurs.
Right. Okay.
So just go around doing more
Just
missions, get
getting
more
the extra stuff.
dinosaurs.
Nice. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, it's been good fun. I'm enjoying that.
It sounds like a perfect game for you.
Yeah, and I will keep on playing that. I also got
Yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah.
Got Battlefront, played that. Never
Yeah.
played Battlefront 2, and that was also on offer. So I thought
I think
I'll get around to that at some point.
I think I might have a copy of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's good
Mm.
fun. Yeah, the hero mode is good. You can just pit everyone against each other. Have big
yeah, it
fights.
seems from what I've seen, quite a big step up from Battlefront.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
I enjoyed, I liked, but yeah, so I'll get around to playing that at some point.
I didn't play too much of it. I don't think. I think it might have been like it was on offer and I bought it kind of on a whim.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
So that is that. I'm
Nice.
sure in future I'll be talking about more Jurassic World, more Stranger Things.
Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about Stranger Things in an upcoming episode once we both finished it.
Yeah,
episode or two.
Sounds
away.
good. Is this episode 48?
I think it might be. Yeah, I don't currently have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it's 48.
It is. Yeah.
We've got the big 5-0 coming up in a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, it'll be 48. Yeah, because Lazarus was 47. Yeah. Just before we finish up, I was reading the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run, which I would highly recommend. 2019. So it is quite inspired by the Netflix series.
What kind of type of Daredevil have we got
It's
here?
very much back to basics Daredevil. It's one of those things where in the previous runs he'd become like the leader of the Hand, like an evil guy. There was a thing called Shadowlands basically this is at the end of that he got fucked up, got like hit by a car, and he's only just recovered. So it's basically like he's
soft reboot.
He's good again. It's a very soft reboot, which is good because it's a perfect place to come into it.
Yeah,
and it's more what I want to see.
The Daredevil we all know and love.
Yeah, and it's got some great artwork, and he's seen as like, it's like when the cops hate Batman. Like everyone hates him, partly because he was this bad guy, partly because he's Daredevil.
Yeah,
and there's a new cop's come into town who seems like a bit of a Luke Cage character, and he's like on a mission to get rid of Daredevil.
Right.
Wilson Fisk is the mayor of New York, so that's fun.
Of course he is.
But yeah, it's good so far. He's just got to a point where he was arrested, and he's freed by Frank Castle, so Punisher's in it like 5 issues in. So
it always makes me laugh when you get things like Wilson Fisk becoming mayor of New York.
Yeah.
It's like, it must be a soft reboot because like
it's so
the
obvious
amount of
that
shit
he's a bad
done.
guy. Yeah.
And like he's been exposed publicly so many times.
It's like Norman Osborn was like president at one point, I think, and it's like
really, you kind of get it with like Doctor Doom because it's a whole part of his character being leader of that area.
Yeah.
But Wilson Fisk is just like,
I actually I saw a bit of the Fan Four stick on TV yesterday. And I've seen it once, but it basically Doctor Doom, or their version of Doom, comes back from the Phantom Zone or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
not Phantom Zone, is it? It's Sphere, something. Anyway, fuck it. Who cares? He comes back, and then it just immediately goes into the climax of the film. So there's like no pacing at all.
Yeah, that film is
just
all over the
really
place.
bad, and the wig. Sue Storm's wig just flashes in and out.
Wig.
But yeah, the last bit that relates to that Daredevil, part of the reason I was reading it is I bought another Unmatched set.
Yes, you sent me a picture of some
which
of it.
is Daredevil. It's the Hell's Kitchen set. It's Daredevil, Bullseye, and Elektra.
Nice.
Played last night, and Bullseye is fucking amazing. Can attack from 5 spaces away anywhere, and has some fucking sick attacks. Had a great time with it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So yeah, we have to play that at some point. But yeah, I haven't bought one for a couple of months, and I had a little bit of money left over from last month. I thought, fuck it.
Wow.
I know, yeah. It's because I budgeted for Glastonbury and then didn't. Had luckily brought enough alcohol with me, so yeah,
it's always good.
Elektra has 7 health, then she resurrects with 9 health and gets her whole deck back again because
oh shit,
that's pretty cool.
So
and
she's got to kill her twice.
She's got 4 hand ninjas with her. She has some cool moves where
she sounds good.
Yeah, she has some moves where like her defense swaps her with a ninja that then takes the hit for her, kind of thing. And she can like disappear off the board and appear like in other places. Yeah, Daredevil's was just like if he's got not very many cards, he can like boost his attack. So basically, you just have to get the shit beaten out of you, and then you get a bit of a second wind. That's not quite as fun of a little gimmick as the other two.
Oh, Elektra sounds fun to play with.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking forward to especially mixing them with the other Marvel set. And I was gonna buy the T-Rex set, but Sattler versus T-Rex, which is the massive model.
Yeah.
But it's still on pre-order in the UK, and I thought I could wait and buy that, or I could just get this one for now, and then in a couple of months get the T-Rex.
Yeah,
one.
fair enough.
But yeah, that is everything I've been up to recently. So,
excellent. So, if you, the listener, not you, Sam, enjoyed this, as we always hope that you do, give us 5 stars on your podcasting listening app.
Yes, please.
We go, I say it every week, but it does actually help.
Yeah.
It's one of those where, like, I remember before we did this, you'd hear podcasters and stuff doing it, and you're like, oh. And then when you kind of get into that community, you're like, oh no, shit, I see why they say it now. Now I'm going to be one of those guys that says it every week. But there is a reason everyone says it. It does help. So.
It works for like algorithms. There's a feature that you can do where you on Spotify it will show you like similar podcasts.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to be at a certain listenership to get that. I couldn't see it on ours, but it's something that, you know, if we end up on someone else's thing, it's a good way of linking together accounts and stuff like that. So all goes.
So do that, and then if you've got something specific you want to tell us or talk to us about, or just have a general chat, you can get in contact with us directly, can't you, Sam?
You can send us an email at theprojectpod@gmail.com. You can also find us on all major social medias, including
all of them:
TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And
Is
you
that
can
all
find
of them?
those are all the major ones. We may have some secret other ones. But yeah, you can find those just by Googling the Project Pod or searching it on the social media search or in the link tree in our episode description. So thank you very much for listening to this Stranger Things themed episode.
Is it Stranger Things themed when it's just about Stranger Things?
I was going to say the strange episode or something, but yeah, thanks for tuning in. And come back in a couple of weeks to find out what we both thought of the entirety of season 4.
Yes, that'll be good personal projects.
Yeah.
But for now, I will hear you next week.
And I'll see you in the Upside Down.
Ah, yes, nice. Bye.
We're going to be running up that hill, aren't we? All the way into next week's episode.
Yeah, sure. Bye.
Ding dong.